Hi everyone, it's my first live. Yay! First, I want to thank everyone who subscribed to this channel, Brown Girl Blue. I currently have 59 subscribers. Like, wow. Started this channel back in October of last year, so grateful to everyone that found this content meaningful and something that you can connect with. So, why did I start this channel? First of all, my name is Tabitha, and I started this channel because I have been thinking about my story as a Jehovah's Witness and growing up in that particular culture and that religion. And I just wanted to tell my story. And I saw so many other different channels that were doing what I wanted to do. And I just got inspired. There's one channel in particular, El Reno. She's a life coach specifically for um, prior Jehovah's Witnesses. And when I came across her channel, and I think she actually gave a call to action for those who had a story to tell to get out and tell it. And so I did it. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time to tell my story. And so I just started telling my story. And so far, I've done 43 videos so far. And the first bit was talking about my childhood memories or my Jehovah's Witness memories, my Joe with his childhood memories. And if you were raised in the Jehovah's Witness religion, and you remember that book that was specifically for children, it was my little book of Bible stories. Does anybody remember that? I think it was an orange, kind of yellow orange color with red lettering, a red font. I remember I would take that book with me everywhere. When we went to the assemblies, I would take it in my little book bag, and when they were, remember those assemblies were, so they had the summer convention, and that one, if I remember, was like 4 days. I think it was like Thursday through Sunday, and I think they used to be even longer because my parents became witnesses back in the early '60s. And I think those summer conventions back in those days were, I think, all week, and they were really long. But from what I remember when they were Thursday through Sunday for the summer conventions. And then the fall and winter conventions were 2 days. And those were, I think they were Saturday and Sunday. Please correct me if I'm not remembering this, but I do remember that the fall and winter assemblies were a lot shorter than the summer. They would call them summer district conventions. But anyway, I would take that book, my little book of Bible stories, with me my parents would take our family to these conventions because remember, those were several hours long, several hours, like all day. These are all day conferences. And so I would have my coloring book, and I would have my little book of Bible stories. And before I could read, I remember I would just look at the pictures. But then as I got older, I remember reading the stories, it's kind of over and over again while they were, having those really adult themed talks, discussions that they would have at these conventions. They were not for children. And I don't remember I don't remember having any type of like Sunday school experience like you would experience in a more typical Christian church environment where they have a special area for the kids to go so the kids can still be able to have those Bible based discussions, but more so in a context that's more appropriate for children. And with your witnesses, that wasn't the case. Like you were there in the same space as your parents, hearing about the stories of destruction and people who lost favor with God, and how they would get punished. And I'm just looking at some of my features here because this is my first time using YouTube Live, and so I'm still learning all the tools. In fact, I got on a little bit later because I had to download Google Chrome first in order for my webcam to work. But back to my story for why I'm doing this channel. So it comes a point in your life. I found that as I'm now into the decade of 50s of being 50, you look at life differently and your whole perspective and your hindsight over your past experiences to where you've come to this kind of really pivotal moment. At least for me, that's what's happening for me. And so I look back at those prior experiences. It does give you reason to pause and reflect. And also, it's a time in my life where I once let go of that baggage that I've been carrying from my childhood experiences and childhood and young adult experiences, and I'm just ready to let those things go. And part of this letting go is to be able to tell my history, my oral history of those experiences that definitely have played a huge role in my development as a young adult, and even into my midlife adult years now. And I'm just ready to let that baggage go, especially after my mother passed. My mother passed. See, it's February 9th, so it's been 2 months since she passed last year in December, of seeing how her life towards the end of her life and how she changed and how she was no longer active Jehovah's Witness, had been for about 30 years. To look at the individual who she became and thinking about who she was when she was younger and we were younger, and she was really someone who toed the line for the Jehovah's Witness religion. We had to abide by the rules. There was no celebrating of holidays, no celebrating of birthdays. You were following the rules down to the letter of the law. And my mom was the disciplinarian of our family, and she was very, very strict about making sure that we followed all the rules in the Jehovah's Witness faith. So just thinking about how she completely pivoted away from that and really lived her life to the fullest, the past 30 years of her life, making friends that were not Jehovah's Witnesses, going out to different things with different events with her friends, yeah, going to movies. And I know that you go to movies as a Jehovah's Witness, but the fact that my mom had so much freedom and making decisions of participating in the things that she wanted to participate in, and she just lived her life, and um, she was no longer held connected to those rules that she placed us under. My mom celebrated Christmas, and when my mom got her own apartment, I remember she decorated her place for Christmas from top to bottom. She had this beautiful Christmas tree. She had all these decorations. She had a little Christmas train going around the base of the tree. She had these little Christmas villages. She had bows that she had made, little Christmas bows that she had put on her front door. I mean, she went all the way out. And every year, that's how my mom decorated her home for Christmas. She lived with me for a few years, and the same thing. She decorated her house. It was all Christmas. And I just feel like those years, and my mom wasn't born a Jehovah's Witness. She became a Jehovah's Witness in her early, I would say, because she already had two children. My two brothers were born, my two older brothers. So I think she was in her 30s when she became a Jehovah's Witness, maybe late 20s. I think maybe it's more so late 20s. I know she was still a fairly young woman. And so, my two brothers, they celebrated Christmas up until the age of, I think they were 8 and 9. My parents became witnesses. So they remember beforehand when they celebrated birthdays, they would go to family reunions, they would celebrate all the holidays, go trick or treating for Halloween, celebrate Thanksgiving, going over to my parents, their grandparents, my grandparents' home when they all live in the same area. So my older brothers remember those Jehovah's Witness experiences. So to see my mother come from that life to the life she had before she passed in those later years was just really great to see. Even though we have that history of me remembering, all the really stressful and dogmatic and to the rule of law and the Jehovah's Witness dogma, not being able to go to my high school prom, not being allowed to go to any school parties, not being allowed to attend any school sporting events, not to pursue anything that I wanted to pursue that was outside of school hours. I wanted to play sports. I only played sports during the school day. I wasn't able to participate in any extracurricular activities. So, even though we had that history of things that she thought were right because someone else told her that was right, until she started thinking for herself. So that's why I started this channel, to be able to have this, to share with you my experiences, and also to be able to connect with those of you who had a similar experience that I did. And I think most of us did, who grew up in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Um, so that is why I started this channel. I just wanted to just tell my story and to be able to help others who are kind of walk along the same path. And also those of you who still might be in the religion, who are looking for, see how people are who no longer practice, no longer practice that faith. We're not evil. We're just regular people, just living our lives. My daily purpose is not to attack anyone's faith or anyone's organization. My purpose is to share with you what my experience was like, being born, being raised in that particular religion. Um, I did tell the story early on about when I was 12. I didn't know any other type of religion. That was my entire faith structure. My belief structure was based in the Jehovah's Witness culture. And so I didn't have any other conflicting religious belief I had to give up. That was all that I knew. And so I was very committed. I was excited about getting baptized. And some of my friends who were around the same age as myself, they had gotten baptized, earlier. And so I knew that, I'm ready to do this. I'm already going out in the field service. I think I had one Bible study at that time, which of course my parents were leading it because they were the publishers and I wasn't, but they would let me take the lead on some of their Bible study visits. So I felt like I had some responsibility. I had kept up with my hours in the field service, even though they weren't counting them yet. I was still, playing the role because I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I had my Bible study that I did throughout the week, my personal Bible study. My family had the family Bible study. We would go to the Kingdom Hall once a week and do the Bible study at the Kingdom Hall. Then we had ministry school on Thursday evenings. And of course, Sunday, we have the main talk. And then you have the Watchtower study after the main talk. So I was excited. I love going. I loved going. It was part of my life. I took stands at school. I didn't do any type of as they called worldly activities. I didn't participate in any of that, and I felt that it was my obligation to stand on the truth, and this is what God wanted me to do. Oh my God, and of course, in the Jehovah's religion, we always say Jehovah. That was a name that we were proud to say. It was almost like a badge of honor that I knew God's name. Of course, I know that God as in different cultures, He's referred to by many names. But as far as the Jehovah's Witness faith, that was like I know something that you don't know. Like that was a kind of prideful trophy that I you know, carried with me because I felt like, oh, I'm better than you because I know God's name and you don't. In fact, I remember, does anyone remember this? Do you remember going into the field service and it was one of the lead-ins of asking someone, do you know God's name? Do you know God's name? And I think it was Psalms 119. I can't remember the exact verse. You think that would never leave my mind, but it has. So somewhere in Psalms, you turn to that scripture and would show people what God's name was. And the hope is that they would be like just just so impressed that you knew God's name and that now you left them with this great piece of knowledge that now you know God's name. That was the lead in, hopefully, to follow up and a continuous regular Bible study. So many memories, and I'm sure all of you have your memories as well. I would love to hear them because I'm sure we have shared experiences. I talked about the dilemma with the Smurf doll, the little blue um, was it? I can't remember the animation company. I think it was I can't remember. Anyway, the little Smurfs cartoon. All and it may for you it may have been something else. It may have been some other type of thing that someone had a vision about, and all of a sudden now it's demonic or evil, and we shouldn't be participating with it. But that is why I started this channel so that we can have a place to just share those memories that we all have, all had. I'm just looking at again my first time on YouTube. I was making sure I'm not missing anything. But yeah, so that's why I started this channel because I want a place to be able to share my story. Totally inspired by Ella Reno. She told her story and she gave the call of action, and I took it, and I'm so glad I did because I am having a really great time. And oh, hi, Robert. Good afternoon. Person he was 5. My mother got baptized. My father figured she was very abusive. Yeah, and she went, oh, and moved us to the rest of my family. Let me see what else. Make sure I'm getting everything. Yeah, Robert, there was a lot of abuse in that environment. It was really the perfect storm for families who have for victims of abuse. It was secrecy. I know they changed their policy now, but back in the day, when there was a family issue, you would take it to the elders, and then the elders would decide what you should do. Most times, I would say greater than 95% of the time, you were the victim, whether it's the mother or the children, they were advised to take faith, have faith, to go back and to make a commitment to keep the family intact, which was putting the responsibility back on the victim and no accountability for the abuser. That was something that my family experienced, and that was something that I knew other families in our congregation that were experiencing. To where we have these individuals who were placed in leadership positions that had no training regarding social services or regarding how do you deal with victims of abuse. They had no training in that. They had this manual that they abided by, then some kind of elders manual of how to keep people in check, keep the organization in check. But they had no training, no authority of understanding when someone is getting hurt. What do you do? How do you support the victim, not the one who's abusing, but the actual victim? And there was no training in that. And so I know they've changed their policy. They got these policy changes, but back then the that was definitely the rule of how they would advise families. And Robert says that's when it took over physically. Yes, yeah. I'm so sorry you went through that, Robert. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, there's so much hurt. It was so much hurt that came out of that experience. Oh, but thank you for joining me today, Robert. I saw a couple. I think you made a comment on one of the videos that I recently posted. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining this community. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to share my story and to connect with others who've had similar shared experiences. And it's a time for healing, for us to to speak out loud what happened, and to be able to find peace within ourselves, and also to celebrate. We're a pretty resilient crew, pretty darn resilient crew who were able to come through that. And there were so many who didn't make it, unfortunately. So many, I'm thinking of 5 people right now that I grew up with who didn't make it, through drug abuse, through different choices they made with their lives that led to destruction. Those of us who survived, I almost want to call us not just XJW, but survivors. When we are survivors, we are. And there's so many other different religions that are similar to maybe a different dogma than what Jovinists believe, but have that same type of control to where you don't have the ability to think for yourself and someone else is telling you how to think. There are many religions that do that same thing. So I'm just very happy that I survived. I talked about in my last video that I just posted this morning of my aha moment and my most heartbreaking moment are one and the same. So for me, is that when I look back in hindsight, is when I was denied baptism because the elder group who um, worked as the moderator or facilitator for the questions we had to do didn't think that I answered the questions well enough. Now, mind you, there were people who were, I think you have to be a little bit older now, but I remember growing up, there were kids who were 8 years old getting baptized. I knew one kid who was 5 who got baptized, and I was 12. And so, I talked in one of my videos that later on I found out that there was some type of drama between my parents and the elder bodies. And the reason why they let me get baptized was to get back at my parents. And that was just petty. It was just so petty, right? To take out your um, adult issues on a child is just it's just crazy. But I'm glad in hindsight, I'm glad it happened because that set me on a path of taking off those rose-colored glasses and realizing that, hey, like something like when it happened, something within me said, something is not quite right here. And that's where it started because before then, I was, when you're a kid, you believe what your parents tell you, right? You believe what your parents, whatever world your parents create for you, that's what you believe. And so I came out of that fantasy and I was like, okay, something's not right. And that was my turning point. That was my pivot away from 100% buy-in. Then I began to question things. I began to, when I would hear someone say something, I didn't take it as absolute truth anymore. And so I am grateful that that happened to me because it allowed me to be where I am today. And I think if things had, not only think, I know that if things that went like they typically would have gone in that situation, I should have been baptized with no question. That's an easy win. But because it didn't happen that way, I was able to go on another path. And I'm grateful that I went on the path that I'm on. Let's see. You're welcome, Robert. You're welcome. Yes, Robert, it's a path to find peace. It's a path. And you just got it a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's a path. Like remember, this happened. See, I'm 51 and this happened I was 12. I stopped associating with them when I turned 18. Was my father passed away and I was 19. And that was the last time I had anything to do with them. So that's been, over 30 years. And so it takes time. I mean, up to 5 years ago, that pain was still very raw for me. So this didn't happen overnight by any means. This was a road. This is a lot of therapy, a lot of therapy. Um, Time to forgive myself for how I felt, dealing with all that junk that was in my head. This was a process. But yeah, so again, I'm glad, Robert. Yes, me too. And that was my pivot, Robert. Too is not just focusing on a mandate or focusing on you know rules, but really getting through all of that and just connecting with God, just connecting with God. So and I like it so much better. It's more organic, it's more pure, and I think it's the way it's supposed to be. Now, well, let's see. We got 23 minutes in. Oh, hi, another person joining the room. But yeah, so I just wanted to come in today first to test the YouTube live tools. When I first logged on, I was like, okay, I thought it would just be like plug and play, like push a button and live. But I didn't have Chrome downloaded, and so I had to do that first, and then I was able to make it work. So next time, I'll be able to start on time because now I know what to do. Like I learned, I'm learning. This is a in process here, but I'm so proud that I figured it out. Yeah, Robert, I've done on one of my, so I'm going to talk about my religious path. I have been baptized 3 times. And I'm going to talk about the different religions that I have been in my adult life between 19 and now 51. But I did do non-denomination. I used to go to Calvary some time ago, so I've taken the non-denominational route as well. Yeah, and there's some good non-denominational communities out there. It's all about the community that you're in. Feeling supported. People helping each other. Realize that nobody's perfect, and we're all in this life that we call life together. We're all in it together. So I'm glad that you're finding your path, Robert. That is so important. That's so important. All right. Well, I think that I am going to wrap it up. I will be back again. This was fun. I didn't think I would be able to speak for 25 minutes and lie. Like, what am I going to talk about? I don't know. But this was cool. So thank you for joining me for my first YouTube live. And I'm gonna start putting out more videos. Right now I'm just releasing on Sunday and Thursday. I probably will put in one more day because I'm getting, like I said, I'm getting more comfortable with the YouTube world, YouTube tools, getting more organized with the things that I want to talk about. And also, actually, so we got Robert, one person. What are some things that you would like for me to talk about? I know only we have two people, but hey, everyone's opinion counts. So I've talked about baptisms. I've talked about deprogramming my Jehovah's Witness mind, and that is a lifetime to do. So because there's so many things, right? And I don't want to minimize anyone's experience. I'm not going to do that. What I will say is when you're born into that faith is a slightly different experience, in my opinion, from when you're converting. Because at least when you're converting, you have some other perspectives that you're coming into. As a child, my experience, I didn't know anything else. I had no idea. Everything else outside of the Jehovah's Witness faith was completely foreign. And I don't, so it's the thing, so this fellowship, I don't think I was ever technically this fellowship. I just never came back. And I know they have this, it's so weird because they have this, what is it? They have like this category of people. Like if you don't come back, they consider you to be inactive. And I think if they catch you doing something and they you're disfellowship, it's a weird. I don't even know. I don't. Yes, part of my family is still in. Yes, yes. What's really interesting is that they have been given permission to talk to people who aren't active anymore, and so they still talk to me. But I often wonder if I was disfellowshipped, would they still talk to me? Like I said, it's just weird. It's this weird categorization of people when you're not active or you don't go back. If you don't go back, they consider you disassociated. I know it's disassociated or inactive. I know it's they give you like a different category for someone that was disfellowship and then they shun you. Like it's so weird. It's so weird. I just to say, but we're still shunned. So maybe it's the same. Maybe I just had a different. You know what? Probably because I moved away from that area, that I never saw those people again. So maybe that's why I didn't have that shunning experience, because I just left. So and then I never reconnected with anyone else in that community again. So to me it makes sense that once you're no longer a part of that world, that they consider you, that you may come back and contaminate the other congregants with your new way of thinking. When they find out we don't, yeah. Well, in that case, I probably, because I so that in that the case, Rob, because I've been baptized, say, baptism and then two other baptisms. So I'm sure I've met all the criteria to be this fellowship. It just hasn't happened officially, and nor do I care. So it's because I didn't just attend, Robert. I got baptized. Oh, oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Robert. Thanks for attending my first YouTube live. So I am going to skedaddle. Thanks again. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so I don't know if you like football, Robert, but what's really funny? It's Super Bowl Sunday, and I can remember I still have certain things because we weren't encouraged to participate. So I know that the Super Bowl wasn't like on the bad list, but I just remember it was like it wasn't really celebrated. It was some kind of like weird thing around it. So even though I like football, I still have this like little thing will go out. Oh, that's probably from my Jehovah's Witness background, because they were always, looking for things to not celebrate. And so it's so weird. It's so weird. Oh, All right. Well, everyone have a great evening. Thank you, Robert, and thank you. I just see Kay. I don't know your name, but thank you for the other person in the YouTube live today. And I will be posting more videos to come, and I'm going to be doing a lot more YouTube lives because I didn't think I would have this much fun, and I'm really having fun. I hope you had fun too. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye. Have a great night. Have a great evening. Bye.